The film opens with a haunting image of a young woman lying on the ground, jolting awake in a state of distress. Soon after, Captain Stefan Brandt, a seasoned officer in the German army, is summoned to a high-stakes assignment. He is briefed on his new role, which involves traveling to the Netherlands to lead the personal guard of Kaiser Wilhelm II, the former German emperor who fled into exile following Germany's defeat in World War I. This unexpected assignment follows the recent occupation of the Netherlands by German forces, which grants Brandt and his fellow officers secure access to Wilhelm's secluded mansion in Doorn. Upon his arrival, Brandt encounters Wilhelm's stern adjutant, who accepts Brandt's orders with a word of caution: no one is to disturb the household staff or disrupt the inner workings of the mansion. Wilhelm's wife, who has been chopping wood as part of her daily routine, seems keenly aware of the political implications of Brandt's presence. She encourages her husband to invite Brandt to dinner, believing it essential to make a positive impression. Soon after, Brandt is introduced to Inspector Dietrich, a senior Gestapo officer assigned to monitor Wilhelm. Dietrich makes it clear that Brandt's role is not simply ceremonial. He must carefully document everything Wilhelm says, particularly anything that could be interpreted as criticism of the Reich. Adding a further layer of intrigue, Dietrich reveals his suspicion that British intelligence may have planted a spy within Wilhelm's entourage, based on the recent discovery of a radio transmitter in a nearby village. Dietrich suspects that the British might be planning to kidnap or assassinate Wilhelm. Though Brandt initially dismisses these theories, Dietrich stresses the seriousness of his orders and bluntly reminds Brandt that any threat to Wilhelm's safety would fall squarely on his shoulders. As Brandt acclimates to his new role, he begins to notice a young maid named Mieke, recently arrived from the occupied Netherlands. She claims to be Dutch, and her confident demeanor catches Brandt's attention. During one of their encounters, Mieke delivers an invitation from Wilhelm for Brandt to join him at dinner. In a tense and personal moment, Brandt, overcome by attraction, impulsively orders her to undress. Though he ultimately stops himself, this encounter marks the beginning of a complex and charged relationship. Mieke's presence unsettles Brandt, and he finds himself inexplicably drawn to her. At dinner, Wilhelm shares his conflicted feelings about the war, hinting at a disdain for the Nazi regime without outright defiance. Brandt listens closely, aware of his duty to report any dissent to Dietrich. Meanwhile, Dietrich's suspicions intensify as he continues his investigation, convinced that the British spy is indeed hiding within the mansion. Under the Gestapo's scrutiny, Brandt begins to question his own role and motivations, particularly as his relationship with Mieke grows deeper. He suspects that Mieke may not be who she claims to be, but he finds himself willing to risk his duty and reputation for her. Eventually, the truth about Mieke's identity is revealed. She is, in fact, a British spy, working to gather intelligence on Wilhelm's movements and the Nazi occupation. Although Brandt's initial reaction is one of betrayal, his feelings for Mieke ultimately override his sense of duty. He decides to protect her secret, a choice that sets him at odds with Inspector Dietrich and the Gestapo. In quiet conversations, Brandt and Mieke speak of a future beyond the war, though both know it may be out of reach. Brandt's inner turmoil intensifies as he realizes the depths of his connection to Mieke and the increasing dangers surrounding them. Inspector Dietrich, meanwhile, uncovers evidence of espionage and pressures Brandt to be more vigilant in his duties. Dietrich's scrutiny places immense strain on Brandt, who feels himself being pulled in two directions: loyalty to the Reich and an undeniable desire to protect Mieke. With each passing day, the risks mount, and Brandt faces the threat of exposure, knowing that any discovery of his connection to Mieke could mean his execution. The tension within the mansion escalates, with the Gestapo's grip tightening and Brandt's conscience urging him toward defiance. As the stakes rise, Brandt makes a daring decision. He confides in Mieke and proposes a plan for her to escape the Gestapo's watchful eye. The plan involves using a brief period of confusion during a high-profile dinner with Himmler to secure Mieke's safe exit. The night of the dinner is fraught with tension. Himmler's speech reveals the regime's cold cruelty, describing chilling plans for the extermination of those deemed unfit. Brandt feels a deepening sense of horror and revulsion, which strengthens his resolve to free Mieke from the Reich's grasp. Their final escape attempt takes place under the cover of night, with Brandt sneaking Mieke out of the mansion and into a waiting vehicle. As they drive away, Gestapo vehicles appear in pursuit, forcing Brandt to make a desperate decision. He abandons the vehicle on a remote road and urges Mieke to flee into the woods, where she will have a chance at freedom. In a poignant farewell, Brandt and Mieke share a final embrace, both aware that their paths may never cross again. Brandt watches as Mieke disappears into the darkness, hoping that she will survive and find a new life beyond the reach of the war. The film concludes with Brandt returning to his post, aware that his defiance may come to light at any moment. Months later, he receives a package containing a book Mieke had been reading, with a note inside listing a location where she will be waiting for him. The final scene shifts to Mieke, now in London, visibly pregnant as she prepares to meet with British officials. The sounds of war echo in the background, leaving Brandt's fate, and their future, unknown as the screen fades to black.